whatever. And if you don't want to be live out to the rest of the world, then you don't have to have your camera on. But if you don't care, I don't care. We'll probably have several more people, jumping in as we get going. Welcome to our monthly business owners meetup. Like this week, the third week. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Love it when we have people from different states. We really started opening this up a couple of months ago to people that aren't just in real estate or in our brand, as many of you on this call are. But we're opening it up to people that are just small business owners. And the reason we're doing that, and the reason I really would love for each and every one of you, even if you don't attend every month, or even if you're not coming every month, if you know some small to medium-sized business owners that you think could just, get a lot of value out of sharing with other people and getting out of their normal circles, that's what we turned this third Wednesday of the month into. Was to try and get some people. So like last month we had somebody who runs a karate studio and some other folks that have come and joined our group from the financials world, a salon, like anybody that you can think of that's running a business. I just posted a video a little while ago about wearing a lot of hats. And that's really what this is about. We all wear an absolute ton of hats, too many in most cases if you're a business owner. And so, basically we're just getting together. We're going to talk as long as the conversation is here. If we have a lot more people join us, there's 5 or 6 people watching online now. It looks like we'll change the topic to whatever you guys think. So what is something that you've seen in this last month? Wearing all those different business hats, wearing all those things that's been a struggle, a success, a whatever you would like to share. And what's funny is these conversations, they grow on themselves very, very quickly. And there has not been a meeting yet where we haven't gotten a few golden nuggets, especially when you just kind of let your guard down a little bit and start sharing your struggles, not just, how great you are. I'll try and keep if we get more and more people coming in, just try and keep your shares really, really nice and short and concise, a couple minutes. And I'll just try and keep the conversation flowing. And certainly we'll see where the topics take us this week, or this month, I should say. So is there anybody that wants to be that first person? It's always hard before everybody's talking and you're just getting your coffee. And if you're joining us on the West Coast, it's 7:30 in the morning. If you're online, and if you're on the East Coast, it's already 10:30. You're halfway through your morning. So does anybody have a topic?
I'll volunteer. Social media is primarily look how great I'm doing. So I'll give you a little spin. I'm still on kind of a honeymoon of being a new manager of an office at the South Jersey Shore, and things are going well. It's an interesting time to become a manager where you're not seeing that many people. My mindset of being a manager was I'm just going to have in-person office meetings and presentations, and it's not been that. And I don't push for a lot of meetings. So since October, I've had 1 virtual meeting, and things have gone fairly well. And then in the past week, 3 independent situations that I'll be in need of a toupee soon because I'm pulling my hair out. So it's there's a lot of diversity, and at the same time, I am still a sales agent. So managing that is truly tough at times.
I think it's a great topic to bring up. It's a great one to start with. The lack of face-to-face, and we've got a lot of people joining us online. If you're watching us online and you want to just comment, I'll put your comment up on the screen as well. We had Matt Griffey just say hi this morning to everybody. He was with us last month. If you have a question about what we're about to talk about here, but you just hit it best. If your business, doesn't matter what industry you were in, was dependent upon seeing people in person, and now everything's being done this way, or it's on a Zoom or whatever, and it's hard to get people to interact. It's hard to get people, involved. So what are you guys seeing as a positive way to do that. I can share if no one else does, but I don't want to control the conversation. I'd love to see what people think. How are your interactions going? What are some things you've had to change in order to, since you're not seeing people as face-to-face as much? Anything? Don't worry, the silence won't kill us. It's okay to reflect. Sometimes somebody will jump online and make a good comment for us that'll spark that too. For me, I'll say one, it made me concentrate on myself more, Mark. I know that sounds very selfish, but I now spend more time with my family because I'm not running to meetings. I'm not holding as many, like we didn't have to drive to this. I'm in the middle of another educational class right now. We're on break for the first half hour while I'm in here. And when I'm done with this, I'm not getting in a car and taking another half an hour to drive to somewhere else so that I can get to something else. I'm just switching the channel.
You're a good example online of family and exercise. My undergraduate college was exercise and fitness. Now I'm a business owner, so I can appreciate what you do, and we try and do the same. And I think it's Natalie that had mentioned about letting it go. And these things aren't overwhelming me. I'm just trying to share that you can be vulnerable, and it's not all about just, hey, look at the sale I had. I can ask for help. I'm generally a leader in most situations, but I network tremendously, even just for the sense of asking questions and having reliable people to make life and work a good blend and easier to navigate.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you're bringing up, okay, so a little bit of what you're hitting on is if you can't be in person, you sure as hell better be authentic. I asked everybody, hey, can you turn your camera on if you feel comfortable? And a lot of people are like, God, I don't want other people in the public to see me or whatever. And like, I actually got dressed today because my class that started earlier, like it's a professional class. It's got hours and stuff that I was in or whatever. So I felt like getting dressed all the way, and I'd stand up to show you I have pants on, but I don't need to. But like there's that, right? There's okay, we're not getting to go in person and meet. So be more authentic when you are on a video call, right? I think that's a good one right there. If you're meeting with people online and all you're doing is saying, how are you, how was your day today? And, you're meeting with a client or you're meeting with somebody else. I'm doing great. Everything's absolutely wonderful all the time, and they know good and damn well. I mean, especially like this, once you're on a call, people can read your body language. People can read your tonality. This isn't texting anymore, right? So even though you're not in person, I think you hit it best, Mark. You better be putting yourself out there in video so that people can see your body language, see your video, hear your tonality, right? See your body language, or they're not going to be able to connect with you. And if you're a business owner, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you're trying to connect with other people. Or at least most businesses, you're trying to connect with other people in some way, shape, or form to provide a service, to sell your product, whatever it is that you're into. And I won't necessarily call any people out, but there's I know on my screen that way, like Patty has been in a couple of different industries. Natalie, I know you've been in a couple of different industries. Joe, who's not on camera but on the call, has been in a couple of different industries. It's amazing when you start talking to people, and I'll give you a great example. I'm consulting with a mechanic, a large diesel mechanic shop right now, and I'm learning all these things that translate directly into real estate that have to do with people servicing their dump truck. And people are like, you'd probably hear that and you're like, what the hell are you talking about? But it's amazing to me when I ask questions of the challenges that somebody else is having in a completely different industry and how it all directly relates as long as you're open about it. So being authentic, I think we've talked a little bit about that last month. Being authentic is a good way of, you have to put yourself out there. You have to hit the record button and put yourself out there, or you have to say, I'm willing to connect with people any which way. What are some other challenges by not meeting in person that you've run into? What are some things that you've experienced by not being able to meet with people?
All right, I got one. Got a referral, quality referral from a guy who's given me referrals in the past. She was going to compare multiple realtors. I think it was 2, right? And I didn't get the chance because she never followed up on my emails. And how often do you bang out emails? How many texts do you send, right? Do I do a video email or what? Long story short, I reached out, did all the due diligence, and I just got an email saying we went with the other person. Thank you for your time. And I didn't get a chance to do anything. Not like we've had that happen live, right? Where you didn't get a chance to even show your showing presentation, your listing presentation. This time I didn't get the chance to the table after being referred. That's only happened once, but it's kind of, for some reason, been sticking on my mind.
Does anybody else want to comment on that? Has that ever happened to anybody else here? No, everybody else is batting 1,000. Sorry, Lane, you're the only one that sucks.
No, right. I had an instance just recently where I set up a custom home search for someone, followed up the week after to make sure that the criteria was meeting their needs. And I found out that they had searched in Mount Horeb, found a property, and made an offer. And I didn't even get a chance.
All right.
That kind of sucked.
So let's talk about what those 2 things that happened to you guys are very similar. All right. And it doesn't matter what business you're in now. Now you're talking about, I have a certain number of at-bats or opportunities in any one given business, and you're not going to get them all. And nowadays, at least with how we're having to interact here, you might have more at-bats, but you're also getting more rejection than ever. Right. So let's talk about that piece, I guess, a little bit. How do you stay in the right mind frame, or how do you stay in the, in the right motivational mindset to overcome that, right? When you're being rejected after you feel like you did something really great. And I'll give an example for me this last week. I didn't get rejected on something, but I put a lot of time and effort into a project for somebody that's on this call, and presented it to this person. And she liked it. But the whole time leading up to it, I was like, what if she hates this? What if this isn't what she was looking for? And I was nervous. So, but I will say this, when I'm not nervous, that's not good either. There's something wrong if you're not nervous. If you're nervous, you're either overconfident or you don't care enough. At least that's my opinion. Does anybody have anything to say? I mean, because Chris, you bring up a great topic of like, how does rejection make you feel? And then, what do you do with that feeling, right? Because if you just let it go, oh my God, I can't believe it. I put all that time and effort in and I'm done. No, like you almost have to want the no's so that you can get to the yeses. I know that's something I've heard from coaches over the years. Well, how many no's do you need to get in order to get to your yes? How many products do you have to offer to somebody that they don't buy, no matter what business you're in, before they do buy, right? People know that when they're at the counter at a gas station, these companies that sell gum, for instance, they know the traffic count at a store where people walk past a register, and they know how many people go past their packs of gum, and they know about how many people actually buy them. And then they literally measure that based on the packaging of their gum. And when they change it, they measure it again to see if, did the color of our wrapper and or the logo and or the placement on the box or where we had it near the register, did that affect our business? So for me, Chris, like when I start thinking about, did I fail? No, it's not about fail or succeed. It's about measuring. And I think failures and successes should be measured equally, or at least considered equally. But we can't dwell on them. Does anybody have anything to say about that?
I'll chime in there. I haven't been in any of your meetings in a while, Dan. But it goes a lot to say that a lot of times, just when you're just about to just had enough and you're about to give up, things change. And for that, Lane, you got a support team around you. Bent, get it out. A couple of weeks, about 10 days before I fell and got injured, I was about to have a breakdown. And I have a partner and a spouse that he knows the game. He knows my routine. Like, all right, I was getting my ass kicked. So many offers. No, rejection. Starting to get concerned. And then all of a sudden, it all turns around. So when you're at that point where you're just like, I am, oh my God, I'm done. I got another rejection. It's going to turn around for you, because it seems like that's the rotation of the business. And if you lean on people that are around you, because they see it, they know, like Joshua, he's my buyer specialist and my spouse and my business partner. He's like, Natalie, this is classic you. Next week's going to be great. The next week, not only did I fall down a flight of stairs and hurt myself, but we got 4 accepted offers. We got 3 listing appointments, and we couldn't be, and now I'm like, all right, Joshua, this is your sink or swim time. You are, you jumping in. So almost kind of like try to take that, like, kick in the balls. I'll just say that. Sorry. It's kind of
say Natalie, one of the people online are commenting about what you're saying. So thank you, EOR Explorers. They're commenting to us on Twitch, but they're like, if you're about to break down and something changes, and then of course you feel lucky. I know, but I want to take that comment, like, it wasn't likely luck. It was just something you weren't seeing, right? Also, it ties back into what Mark started us with the authenticity part. When you get all the way down to the bottom, meaning, and when I say the bottom, I mean you feel defeated or Lane, like in that position where you're ready to just, like throw your hands up with any one given client. What power do you get out of that when you're able to be honest? Right? Like when you're really able to let it all go, because you're at your wit's end. So you might as well tell them exactly how you feel, right? Or exactly, not more truth necessarily, but you're pushing more, right? Does anybody have a story where they got all the way to the bottom and it gave you the gusto to, I don't know, perhaps be more truthful or honest with a client or a customer? In your life, because of the fact that they pushed you to the brink, or maybe the market pushed you to the brink, or maybe some other influence pushed you to that place? Did it give you a sense of strength or a strength of power to actually open your mouth and say what you wanted to say instead of something maybe you were too afraid to say? Because that's happened to me tons of times, right? Who's had a really, really horrible client that they needed to fire themselves from working for, right? Or a customer that just you couldn't say the customer's always right anymore, right? You just couldn't, you couldn't say it anymore. But how good did it feel when you addressed it, right? Because maybe it was something you weren't gonna, and all of a sudden when somebody pushes you all the way into a corner, or maybe they just make you feel so down or uncomfortable that you're like, nope, enough is enough. I'm going to tell them what they need to hear. Or maybe they needed to hear that before you got to that point. So maybe that, I know for me, that's a lesson learned, right? As a person who manages some properties and tenants, in that world, I used to always give until I learned enough lessons on what not to give. Well, that should be the same thing in our businesses, right? You can't always give a client the attention they deserve at 10:15 p.m. When maybe that's when they need the attention, or maybe that's when they need the help, right? Or, in the case of the auto mechanic shop that I was discussing earlier, if somebody broke something and you're not the one who broke it, but they're bringing it to you to fix, guys, you got to set the expectations correctly on how that should be fixed. You can't let somebody who brings the broken thing to you set the expectations on how you're going to fix it. Otherwise, you're giving up your abilities, and and Lane, what I'm speaking to is those expectations of what's going on now. Yeah, we can use real estate because I'm in that too, but it works in anything. If the constraints on what reality actually is right now. So let's talk about that, like, hey, I'm really, really sorry, but my kids right now, they're not learning to the level that I would like. And it sure as heck isn't because the teachers at our school aren't trying their butts off. And it's not as though they're not doing everything they can within their power to do it, but no one has really set the expectation for me on how I'm supposed to be dealing with this as a parent when I feel like I'm failing my kids. Right? So what are some aspects maybe outside of your business that some of this has started to affect too? I think if you look outside of the first thing, so Lane, like you brought up, this is the thing that's bugging me, or this is the thing I'm struggling with. What else has it done to you while you're struggling and concentrating on that one thing? What else has gone on that you didn't see? Or what did you ignore while you were working on that, right? Some people call it like when you get focused on the bad egg, or you get focused on the one negative thing that's going on and you miss out on all these other positive opportunities that are going on. So if a client's expectations of what's going on in this market or what's going on in this industry or that industry, it doesn't even really matter. If their expectations are wrong, they're probably doing two things. They're robbing you of two things. Number one, they're going to rob you of your ability to serve them properly because they're the one influencing what they want from you instead of you being able to give them what you know you can give them, right? And the other thing is they're probably taking too much of your focused time and energy so that you can't provide a value to other people or provide the value to yourself. The fitness thing and like the taking care of my physical self and the fact that, months because I'm trying that out, those were all things because there was outside influences in my life that I was like, holy cow, these things are too much. So I'm actually gonna screw with this over here in hopes that it joggles things up a little bit over here. So don't get too linear, I guess, too, is what I'm saying with your problems. Has anybody been too hyper focused on one problem and it actually created other problems because they were too hyper focused?
I'm sure a lot of us have, especially being younger in business. I don't mean a young age, but if you're new to whatever your business is and you're chasing, but then once you start having success, and then there's a time where maybe you have a bit of a lag, if that worry sets in, that what do I have to do? And people often will bypass what got them that success. In the networking world, we have a lot of people that'll join a networking group, they get some good referrals, and then they bounce from the group. Well, that's how you got your business, being consistent with that. So whatever your practices are that have led to business and success, even if you're not currently having sales success, really should keep your focus on that so you're not diverting from what got you where you are. And having an advisor helps a lot. When you have a coach, they'll probably say the same thing over and over again over the course of a few months until you're doing that as a regular habit.
So one of the comments that's coming in kind of ties along with that. Taking the high road when you've, already tried in a lot of things, before they get rough, before it gets abusive, before it gets whatever. So seeing things ahead when you're newer in business, as you're saying, Mark, or if you're newer in your industry, you don't have that experience yet. Your red flag meter or your I better not let this happen thing doesn't exist yet. You don't have those protections put in place yet. So, what are some, I guess, lessons learned too, that I had, early on here throughout COVID too, was, all right, I wanted to don't come to this meeting every month and go invite somebody else to this meeting. Go invite a business owner that's not in, your industry, right? And I'll use that as my plug right now to ask each and every one of you on this call. Go reach out to one person. Lane, your person's coming next month that you reached out to this last month. There was one other, Mark, somebody you must have reached out to mentioned you and is going to come next month. It's like you said, you don't need to go to that same group and then bail, but sometimes that's exactly what you need. You need to go experience just that one other thing, that other weird thing to get you out of a bad cycle or start you in a new good cycle. So what I'm talking about really is habits and discipline. Does anybody want to share one of their horrible habits they've picked up throughout not being able to meet people in person? Anybody have one? I'll share mine if I have to. No? Too scared? One Matt online just mentioned the same thing I did, but so I'm now drinking 2 pots of coffee a day. It's really a horrible habit, but man, when you're staring at a screen for many more hours and meeting with people this way versus getting up and actually physically moving around, I'm doing all my workouts at lunch, or whatever on my lunch hour. But man, I'm right there with you, Matt. I'm drinking ridiculous amounts of coffee, and I've started to abuse caffeine at an all new epic level, which is not good for you on a lot of different things. I don't know.
With what you're suggesting, I can tell you that accountability partners are a big deal. I'm not in any wonderful shape, but I have a group of friends that we're doing a plank and squat challenge this month. And when you get to 90 seconds to 120 seconds of plank and you're not in top shape, it hurts like a son of a bitch. But every day we're all texting each other, did my planks, check, a lot of conversation about that. And those are simple things you could do on your own, but we get swept up in our world. And then you see Kate did her squats. I have to focus on it. So just having that network of the right people, if it's business, if it's friends, it's very helpful.
I couldn't agree more. And what's funny is there's more people paying attention to you than you think. So in the last year since I started sharing my accountability partner, by the way, Mark, for my physical exercise is YouTube and Facebook. So I post, and I have it in my thing that I'm going to post one of my workouts at least once a week. I also go back now and through my feed. So 6 years ago, I was extremely out of shape. I don't want to be added into the group of people that says, follow me, I'm a leader. I'm going to help you be more physically, responsible for yourself. And then 5 years from now, come back on and be all out of shape. So my accountability partner now is the videos I've posted. I owe it to myself because I've told people this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it. And I don't want to be a fake. So I'm now accountable to these systems, not even any one given person. I'm almost accountable to this entire group. And so the easiest way to, if you don't, because I will say Natalie just put out a challenge for accountability on one of our personal pages or our interior pages. Natalie, there's a bunch more people that are going to take you up on that challenge than are going to write on that board and admit to telling you that they're taking you up on a challenge, in general. So just remember that people are seeing your challenge. People are seeing your struggles if you're sharing them. If you turtle and you go inside your shell right now, especially seeing as how we're not going outside and meeting anybody in person, no one's going to see what you have going on and no one's going to see your struggles. No one's going to care. And I'm not saying that just because you're going to post it out on social media or be in a meeting like this, that everybody's all of a sudden going to care about little old you. They're not. Everybody in the world has stuff going on for themselves. They don't need to worry about everybody else. It's bad enough when we consume all the negativity that's out there on these platforms, right? But if you do need an accountability partner, tell the world. Tell everybody publicly what it is that you need help with or that you're struggling with. It was really hard for me to tell people man, I need to quit drinking for a while because it was harming me this last year. That was really hard to admit. It's hard to admit again right now. But when I go to sit there and go, all right, am I going to not make my goal of 180 days? Or if I'm not going to make my goal of staying physically in shape, staying in fighting shape, staying in, hard to kill status, as I call it, whatever, I will have failed everybody that I said, follow me. You know, my patch in the Army on, you know, first of the Marne from down in Fort Benning, Georgia, it is just one large sword and it says, follow me. That's why I use hashtag follow me a lot. A lot of people are like, what the hell do you mean by follow me? And it's like, well, lead by example, right? And no offense to anybody on this call. I don't care if any of you follow me, but I want my kids to follow me because that's what I'm responsible for, really. So from that standpoint, I'm really doing it for them, and I'm showing them like, hey, this is what I'm going to try and do. I want you to follow me. And when I work out, my kids see that I work out. I don't make them work out with me. I'm hoping they'll see that their mom and dad take good care of themselves and do all that good stuff. And then hopefully that's what they do when they grow up. You know, lead by example type of stuff. Does anybody else have any, and because I don't need to keep people on all morning or anything like that. This is, you know, like I said, I really, really want you guys to try and tune in. It's the, you know, we're doing the third Wednesday of the month, 9:30 Central, just like this. Is there something you want to get off your chest and share? Is there something that you think somebody else could provide you some advice or an answer to? Don't be afraid. It's very liberating, actually, when you share it. But I'm here if you need it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be learning more about Megaphone tonight. So my wife's company actually created it.
Oh, neat. Very, very cool. So Megaphone, just so everybody knows, so like if you're in marketing or advertising out there, most of us on this call are in marketing and advertising in the real estate world. There's some insurance folks and everything else, but it's a platform for, you know, helping to not just automate, but take data and information and help automate that out to the world, right? What's cool is, you know, Chris, I mean, when you're a part of the back end of something that's built, it's a different feeling. It's totally different than when you're just an end user, right? So you actually, that's a great final topic or something for us to touch on. Remember that there are the back end of your business and the front end of your business, right? Both need a lot of help, and there's a lot of things that go into both ends. That should be a conversation you have with all of your clients. You know, be honest. When you call them, you know, and everything else, do you just call them or do you look up information first? You know, when you follow up with somebody's request, do you just call and start talking to them, or did you have to go do some research? Did you have to go access some different systems? Did you have to go do something before you could talk to them or help them? There's people that are on calls right now. You know, we're in the middle of this, in the middle of our meeting here. They had to have information. They had to have a license. And I'll give you the best example in the world right now, because it circles back around to this expectation setting things. To get a plumber, an electrician, a contractor of any sorts to your home, if you live in a place, or even if you're renting a place, right now, today, it costs $100 to get them to the door. And I don't think people realize that. I don't think people realize that in this world of, I can just go online, request service of some way, shape, or form, and they're going to vie for my business and show up to try and earn my business. Well, when it comes to needing to provide a marketing service and or provide a hammer to fix something, it's not just the person with the hammer to get there to actually finish the job, or just the advertising to hit there. It's the whole system and operation behind it. There was a truck involved. They had to have insurance. There's a business. There's accounting. There's license, you know, insurance on the vehicle itself. Their time to drive there, the gas they put in the gas tank, and now they're at the door ready to serve you. That's the same thing with a restaurant. So when people are sitting there and they're just paying for their food and the food gets to their plate, do your clients, customers, and consumers, do they understand everything that went into bringing you everything that was on that plate? Because if they don't understand maybe what is really hard for you. Ben, you're in the insurance world, the title insurance world. There's a lot that goes into checking and making sure that somebody owns a home and that the title is insurable. And like, there's all these weird things. And don't get me wrong, it's a little boring, the back end of your guys' business. So I'm not trying to rip on you. And there's a lot of businesses, even our own, where like it might be boring, or it might not really provide all that much value to explain it. But to say nothing, go ahead.
On that, I will agree with you a little bit that title insurance can be a bit dry on the back end. And for a lot of you, it is a checklist along the process, but there is a lot that goes into it. And let's face it, if there wasn't problems and if there wasn't people doing dubious things out there, we wouldn't need title insurance. And if it was easy to sell your home, you wouldn't need a realtor, but that's not the case. So when you had talked about the information that you put forth, and you don't want it to be pro bono, but just to sort of coincide with some of the other points that are on out there, leading up to a sales call that I have to do, a listing appointment that you have to do, sometimes that trepidation that we have, sometimes we have to change the paradigm of our mind. And if you are reluctant about going into it, it could be that you're focusing on the wrong outcome, not the outcome that you're going to get, but the value that you're going to be providing to them. And once you change that and really say, this is what I'm hoping to help them with, it relieves all of that tension. So the information that you put together prior to a listing appointment to put your best foot forward, information is information. It's how we connect the dots that brings the value. So that being said, I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't do a plug here for First American, but also keep in mind that the My First Am app affords you the opportunity to garner some of that information prior to a listing. So for example, I'm meeting with Ben. He talked to me about selling his home. I know I'm going to be meeting with Ben and his wife, but I don't know what his wife's name is. You can go to My First Am, see the vesting deed, say, okay, it's Ben and Rebecca, or even better yet, if you see the properties in a trust, that might be the one piece of information that you bring forth to the table that the other agent didn't, saying, I see your home is in a trust. When we get ready to close leading up in 35 days because the market is hot, make sure you have those trust documents readily available, because Ben on the back end with Boring and Title Insurance is going to be needing that documentation so we can have a.
So dude, you know what you're bringing to the forefront and the focus for me is, are you in the right order in whatever it is that you're going to go do today? Are you trying to do something out of order? Meaning, if your job is to facilitate a new relationship with somebody, then you have to show that you care, and you have to start establishing trust. If you're going right to they should trust me and like me, so I'm just going to take a withdrawal, right? I'm just going to literally just go straight for the kill, right? I'm going all the way to the end. And you haven't taken that due diligence, as Ben, as you're explaining, the due diligence of what you're doing and not going ahead in the step. So if your job was to get an appointment with somebody, or your job was to give information about a product or a service that you're giving, but you're going right to the, hey, do you want to buy it? Would you like to use my services? Are you going to hire me? And you skipped the preparation. You skipped the whole, I should maybe learn their name first. I should maybe ask if they even have a dog. I should ask if they even have a spouse, right? Or whatever. And you skipped all the way to the end. It's not going to work out well for you. There's going to be certain times it works because they're just going to be in the right timing and they're just going to say yes. But if you get in the mindset, and Ben, I think that's that you just highlighted for me the best is, what are the tools and systems that are going to prepare you for the next step, not the final step, right? Make sure you have your ducks in a row. Who's supporting you? Who's supporting your process and everything else? Don't skip steps. Don't skip to the end. It's not cool. Nobody likes it, right? Don't skip steps. It's a really great one. Does anybody have any advice or maybe even a situation where you were a turnoff because you skipped steps? Did you go in for the kill? Did you go in for the sale? Did you try and push a service before you ever even explained what it was or what the risks were, or before you asked a single question? All things to think about.
Dan, are you making fun of me?
I'm not. I'm actually just reading some. I'm
myself.
Well, I'm reading some of the comments too, and it, like one of them was, and they don't want me to share their name. Well, whatever. Their comment was just that I used to just sell before I found out what I was really selling. And Natalie, I think that's a good comment you just made. The whole trust me thing, right? You can't tell somebody to trust you. You have to show it. I'll give you a great example. When I went in showing homes, I would always tell people that, hey, if they had never met me before, I'd be like, hey, I would like to meet you at a home and show you how I evaluate a home and show you how I do my business. And I would like to actually give you the opportunity to evaluate my perceived knowledge, see if you like me, and then you can decide whether you want to work with me or not. Instead of, hey, this is how I work, and then we're going to show up, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. Now, am I right and someone else doing it differently wrong? Heck no. If you're on this call and you do it differently than that, good. You're not me. But for me, it was like, I really, really, really wanted to have that know, like, and trust feel before I offered anything else. And I would just assume go to somebody else and try to prove myself again before forcing it with somebody, right? So I won't hold people on this call. Please go out and invite somebody outside of this industry to join us next month. We didn't get enough people from outside our industry, so we don't have enough weird questions. The weird questions are the good ones. If you guys have a client base right now or a customer base or just your sphere of influence, the people in your homes, the people that you are related to, ask a bunch of questions this month about what they're struggling with in their lives and learn. It's the best way to connect with people with what we started with here today, which was we're not meeting in person, so it's really hard for me to connect with people. Great. The telephone, and I'm not talking about strangers, I'm not talking about leads, I'm not talking about new customers. I'm talking about the people that you already know. There's lots of people out there that would love for you to ask them the question, what are you struggling with? And to just listen. And you'd be surprised, what kind of a relationship that can help foster in someone. And you don't need to talk about me. You just need to ask questions and then listen. Right? Does anybody have the best question you could just call up right now? Call people in your sphere of influence. What's a great question you could ask? Anybody got one? I'll give one if nobody has one. I'm going to give the moment of silence and see if somebody comes up with a great question. How are you doing and what are you struggling with? That's what somebody wrote.
Yeah, we see some tough topics in our friend group too that many might not want to touch on, and I don't want to give examples, but police or frontline workers, they struggle with seeing the horrible things we don't, and they may share something on media, and then the commentary is more like, "Hey, I'm here if you need me." Well, I think if it's our sphere, if it's close people, you have to go offline, and you have to get to them directly, and not even just throw out the, "Hey, directly, I'm here if you want to talk. I'd like to talk with you today."
Well, Mark,
who had to deal with a lot of the hatred that was going on in the world visibly last year. I have a close friend that I reached out to him. I said, anytime you want to, let's talk about what your experiences have been that I'm probably not aware of. That never actually came to fruition, but those are the types of things with your sphere is you want to have organic conversations with people.
Do you think doctors and nurses are getting sick of venting about what's going on to other doctors and nurses? When I was a police officer, when I was in the Army, complaining about Army issues to other Army people does not provide any relief or help. complaining about what I was dealing with as a police officer to other police officers doesn't help. So you're totally hitting it right on the head, Mark. People want to be able to vent to other things. I do want to give you an example of taking it one step further. So last week, and I shared this in a different meeting this week, but a dear friend of mine found out their daughter has diabetes. And it's the genetic kind. She'll be diabetic her whole life now. She's 9 years old. They didn't know what was wrong with her when she went unresponsive, and they had to go to the emergency room. It was very scary, all that stuff. Now, I did what I normally do. I reached out and said, man, hey, if there's anything you guys need, I'm there for you. There's not going to be anything in that regard, right? So I took it a step further, and I reached out to a couple of my friends that I knew have been diabetic since I was a kid. And I asked them for advice, and I asked them for some information. And then I followed up with my friend and sent some links, and some information. And here's the deal. Even if they don't look at it, that was me showing how I cared, not me just saying, hey, call me if you need me. Right? That love that you can show, somebody by following up in one extra step. So, okay, have this telephone call. Have this telephone call with people. What are you struggling with? But instead of just saying, well, hey, man, that sounds horrible. Hey, if you need anything, call me. How about take one additional piece of action on their behalf? Maybe it's just to learn about what they're dealing with at a little bit higher level and then express that you learned about it. That's love. That's support. That's therapy. Knowing that someone else cares is a big deal right now in this world. People feel more alone. And that's part of why I wanted people to invite people from other industries and everything else. It doesn't matter what you do for a living right now. People feel more alone than they ever have because of COVID, because of what has become our social media, I call it garbage. The feeding of the news and the negativity and everything else. People, I promise you, feel more alone right now than they ever have. It's being proven, unfortunately, in our mental health stats and some things that they're starting to come up with. And I don't even have to go touch what I've already been involved with, now for 20 years with veteran suicide and, mental health stuff like on that end of things. You don't even need to go there. That's an easy one. Everyone is struggling with feeling alone in some aspect of their life. So let's part with that.
I love that you mentioned that, Dan. Let people help you. If you're struggling in life, let people help you, because it's actually you're helping them as well, because they want to. I've had so many meals left on my doorstep that helps not cook dinner. It makes you feel loved, and it makes the hardship a little less light. And the people that sent it because they care about you, and it made them feel good as well.
I had a lot of people send me treats over the holidays. I'm sure a lot of people get treats over the holidays. Pam brings Valentine's Day cookies to our house every year now for 20 years. And they have like an 1.5 inches of frosting on the top of those bad boys. And I totally can't eat them right. I mean, like they're not, whatever. It doesn't matter if you don't eat it. The love was transcribed. It doesn't matter whether they enjoy the thing that you left for them or gave them, right? The love is still going to get transferred. The support will still feel transferred. All that will still feel transferred. So just remember about how alone people are feeling right now. I'm going to set myself a little bit of a goal today, and we'll jump off the call here. I challenge everybody that's watching this out there online or watching the recording of it later, and all of you that are here. Number one, invite somebody to this call next month. It's the third Wednesday. Reach out to me if you want the link, because what we'll do is that when we get 30 or 40 people in here, we'll all share for 1 minute. And we'll just literally, you'll get 1 minute and you'll go and you'll be amazed what happens. Number two, I'm going to reach out between now and next month, just 10 people. I'm going to reach out to just 10 people that I think may or may not, and it doesn't matter whether you think, because it's not up to you, but everybody's feeling a little alone. So I'm going to reach out to people that I think have maybe turtled a little more. You guys know who they are, your friends, your family, your databases, your sphere of influences. Who's somebody you haven't seen, whether it's because they don't do Zoom or they're not on social media or they're not over here and you're not seeing them in person or their health compromised so they can't meet with you. Reach out to 10 people this month that you think are in a turtle shell right now or have been, that are probably lonely or scared or whatever, but reach out to 10 people and just say hi. Just say, hey, I'm lonely. If you are too, I just want you to know that you're not alone, you know, or whatever. It's kind of weird and scary. Not out at we used to see each other at this bar all the time, you know, or like, you know, at our monthly hangout, and I haven't seen you now for 6 months. I hope you're doing okay. I made a video for a good buddy of mine that I used to drink with a lot. And I sent him a video just saying, hey, since I've been, you know, dry, I haven't seen this person, you know, or whatever. We haven't even gotten online to like hang out, you know, or whatever. And it made me feel good. I know it made that person feel good, right? So get out there in the world, you know, share your love, share who you are. It's always going to come back to you tenfold. I don't see any other comments on here. Ben, I think that's a good way to frame the question too. You could ask people, hey, is there anything keeping you up at night? Because if it's keeping them up at night or they're not getting sleep over it, it's major, right? It's a big deal. And then probably have to learn to do something I'm really horrible at, but listen. I'm always trying to be a better listener because I'm not very good at it. But ask a question and listen.
Can always be, you know, a positive result as well. I mean, they could be keeping them up at night because they're having twins and they have an extra bedroom or, you know, a new job. So it doesn't always have to be something of a struggle. It could be a good opportunity as well. That's an opportunity for us all to act on and to partake in.
I agree. Well, I make a promise to you guys. I'm going to reach out to 10 human beings that aren't you guys. I appreciate you all being here. And, you know, I'll see hopefully all of you again next month. See if you can grab one person outside your normal circles, outside your normal rings and bring them here, you know. But I'm going to reach out to 10 people that aren't on here and show them some love. And I'll let you guys know next month how it went. And be able to share a story on how we made the world a little bit better. And I don't care how corny that sounds. So anybody else have any parting comments, advice? No? Jenna and Chris, you guys, this is your first time here. Thanks for joining us. Come next month. Share a story about how you changed. Rock and roll. Second. And no other comments online. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Be well. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you later.